Julie here with Sirius Talis Moon, and this is Venus Day, and this is a really funny energy reading. Um, so, with all this Mercury retrograde, people are going about their past relationships, kind of like the X's and O's, um, or all kinds of past relational stuff. Venus, and Venus is 9 degrees Scorpio, and the motivation behind Mercury in Sag is freedom. So we're basically thinking, how do we find freedom within relationships? And this is, it can be both freedom from relationships, but there is really something, Jupiter in the sign of the moon, people want to relate, and and they're kind of thinking about, yeah, I know, Soul 22ing in Scorpio, Sun over my Mars. Um, Ooh, what's this moon doing? Anyway, this is where I was receiving a certain energy where somebody was naturally or unnaturally mirroring, not necessarily mimicking, but mirroring a person. And particularly when they came to their behavior or the way they danced the dance and to their they were dumbfounded to find out that they settled into a place where the person that they were mirroring was actually happy. So that can be okay. That can be like really being dumbfounded about what someone relational needs are, or on what point do they not settle, but on what do they feel actually authentically happy with. And there is something about that energy where they could have gotten to, either one of them could have gotten to perhaps a place that is even way happy for them if they weren't trying to mirror what the other person needs, so to speak. Now, this is quite interesting because it's not that it's wrong to try to like meet that person where they are or mirror to them their behavior, which can be like a point of growth or something. Um, but there's particularly something where somebody, you know, perhaps needed to relax into something, and the person that was mirroring was creating an interesting dance, but they were dumbfounded that that's where that person was like, okay, that's happy, and that person, whether with that person or another person, would have gotten way farther had that little mirroring dance not happened. That's what I'm saying. Now, and again, it doesn't, and this, it's kind of like, for me, it was a eureka because I'm still meditating on that. Because to dance and see and meet someone where they are is actually enabling the dance. Okay, it's like it's enabling to have a sense of connection. And yet, at the same time, this can spark a situation where something doesn't get to more than that. Whether it should or shouldn't, okay, it's not like I have all the answers in the world. It is Mercury retrograde. Um, but that was just a point where I was like thinking about this dynamic, and I don't have like the solution. It was just interesting to meditate on how meeting someone where they are, or even reflecting someone's behavior to them, can both leave someone completely dumbfounded. It's like, why are they okay with that behavior? They were they were eradicating all the other behaviors. Why is that okay? It's kind of like when you think you would put the mirror to a person and they would, oh my God, I've really been, I need to change, I need to grow my pattern. They're like, no, they're accepting themselves where they are. And that can be completely dumbfounding. And at the same time, it does enable a dance. It does enable a connection, um, in the sense that if they had to work with that person, they would know how to meet them where they are. But they could be completely dumbfounded. And first of all, it absolutely can reveal like a situation of person. Okay, I'm not where, I'm not, I'm not staying with you in that place, and that's like super. Okay. However, I did get the feeling that with a person that would not try to mirror, and this is mirror rather than mimic. The mimic here is for the sake of mirroring. Then that could have gone like way farther. And this is an ongoing theme. Now, many people were not even exposed to, anything that is not toxic. So I'm like completely super compassionate, because it's one world meets another. And it does happen when the world is really changing, like really, really changing. And there is a lot of opportunity for. Have I been watching too much of that Slavic Girl shorts? It's a great opportunity. There's a lot of chance to open our minds to something that was completely a blind spot. I don't know, Venus is in my ninth house, okay? I'm biased. I'm positively biased right now. Um, but ninth house is kind of like when you travel or you meet another culture, and there are certain things where you like don't know how to interpret. Like, is that a trick that they are playing on foreigners, or is that actually like that? So that can be both an exciting point of encountering people that come from completely different backgrounds, and at the same time, create very interesting relations and allow ourselves to get out of our unconsciously solipsistic worldview about people, relations, um, and so on and so forth. There's something really healing about that energy. And of course, that relates to like diplomatic relations, and we have juxtapositions of beyond horrors being exposed, and at the same time, joy of living suddenly arising amidst war, or and that can be, an emotional overflow, but it can also be a revolutionary energy. And yeah, something going retrograde in Sagittarius is completely expansive, worldview, mind-opening, and kind of a liberating energy. Where our mindset doesn't stay stuck on something. So I'm really enjoying this Venus day. And And at the same time, it's also important to be, compassionate with ourselves because, of course, all of our wounds are, this Jupiter is squaring Chiron, and Jupiter is about making something bigger. And in a crisis relation to Chiron, it's making that Chiron wound gigantic. Okay, so that is also in the background, and we kind of think about like how cultures can be mixed in a certain way where one gesture could be casual in one culture and in another culture be completely dumbfounding. Um, so, and at the same time, that excitement about that which is different, and the mixed emotions that is bringing of familiarity and relation where we wouldn't expect that to occur. Okay, I had a lot of eurekas about the fact that my parents were married for like 14 years before I was born, and I was born in like their late. I was 2 years old when he divorced, and that's what was going over my Saturn, um, or not. I don't know the beginning. But here is the thing that I had this eureka today that there was an entire emotional lineage that had unconsciously affected who I feel relation with that I never had the exposure to, and it was completely dumbfounding to me because that was that was not happening in Israel because it's not the same culture. And yet I'm not local to the culture where I feel relation. So that was another thing where I was like, oh wow. It was completely like one thing you don't expect in differing cultures is having a deeper sense of relation. Okay? Like maybe when two people went through similar experiences, but here it was not that at all. And I'm like, wait a second, what's happening here? And it's not the first time that there's something like this beginning to happen to me, but it was like the first time I was like cognitively pinpoint. I was like, okay, now it also makes sense, but I wouldn't think it makes sense. So there's this water trine that now the sun is applying to be a part of in Pisces that really brings up, trajectories that can be completely dumbfounding, but also liberating and healing and like completely unexpected. More things to say about. And here's the thing, Mercury Sagittarius, a lot of people will be meeting their not only X's and O's, but people from another culture, because it's Jupiter sign. And with Jupiter in Cancer, they may feel actually more closely related than they thought that they would feel. And that is like completely rethinking everything. Like, I was used to think about my mom as Israeli, not as Dutch, and definitely not as like more Nordic culture. So, like that was kind of like, and that is where I'm like, why do I find more relation there? Because I'm not from that culture. But I did grow up to a parent that had a certain emotional relation pattern that fits. And now, if I in Israel would be understanding that something requires people that don't necessarily live here, that would be, or come from this culture, that would be considered like, you know, kind of like BIPOC people dating whites or something. And here it is like, no, it makes total sense. Way more, and my entire emotional life had been like on hold. Wasn't necessarily in the cultures that I was supposed to be in. And that was like, wow, that's so. But for other people, it's going to be different because, no, not yet, no, actually, no, because Jupiter is in Cancer. And they may go through. Now, this can be a lot of people having X's and O's that are coming from like long distance, different cultures. It can also be different religions and spiritual beliefs, because that's also Jupiter. Particularly, and this is where the caveat, particularly around the family. So this is the Mercury retrograde, where people may find out that, hey, well, one is looking to, it can both be like one is in the stage where they want to settle down and have a family, and the other person is kind of like still, you know, looking to fling around, so to speak. And that's like, okay, like as long as people have and not misleading each other about that, that's something very light. It's very light energy. It's not this heavy energy. Um, but it can also be differing perceptions around the family life. So it can be what type of schooling or what type of, whether the school will be religious or not, or in what country will they live. And when Venus was in Capricorn, I said that people need to remember that if they have family and they are from different countries, if they divorce or separate, the children stay at the mother country, unless it's Israel, because Israel will just deport them because they're not Jewish enough or something like. It's a weird country. Um, um, however, people like this is something that I think is important to say with this type of Mercury retrograde, because people will be experiencing that. I just found a stone. It is transparent. Looks like glass. Not really sure what type of stone is it. This is blue. Okay, I'll just let that one be. Um, but this is where people will see whether the way that they think to grow a family. There's nothing that says more grow a family than Jupiter in Cancer. Okay, so a lot of you people are going to think of whether the way that the people think to grow a family is compatible. Um, and a lot of separations can happen on that background. Now, Jupiter is also ruling Saturn, Neptune, so it is. This is where I say some people will need to have mass death before they can have love. Like, okay, particularly if they live in a trafficking type of environment or culture. So there's gonna need to be mass deaths for there to be love. Okay, you understand what I mean? It's like if the many people have to die so that there can be love. Mercury also rules cities and how the 15-minute cities allows or doesn't allow to grow happy family or happy relation or even a worldview they're satisfied with. So now I was seeing a short of a lady that went to South Korea, not North Korea, and they have a lot of cameras, and it's supposed to be safe, but they have also a lot of hidden cameras. And she discovered that in retrospective, and the police does nothing about that. I mean, why would they? They make money out of that. Um, and so this is where those societies obviously would need to go Hiroshima and Nagasaki before there can be any happy, safe, sane, intimate relations in those regions, countries, cultures. Um, so, and this is where there's going to be a lot of like, Jupiter rules, yes, over Mercury and Mars in Sagittarius, but also over Saturn and Neptune in Pisces. And so think about, I don't know, people trying to date or something like that, and one of them is in Somalia. And probably Somalia is a beautiful country, but there would need to be like mass death of the people that rape 12 years olds or they think that they can look through a satellite or a hidden camera and basically do a rape ritual of whether it is physical rape or whether it's rape by camera. And like those people, of course, either need to die by the masses or some wonder that would change the political or social culture, but particularly the intimate culture. Um, and again, those, I think I said it in the previous video, those that thought that they're so charismatic and charmantic that they can like get away with doing those things will be dumbfounded. And these are the people that fall the hardest when they do, because when they find out that no, that's not being accepted, and no, that's not a doggone thing, and yes, people are okay with people that do that to be mass graves, then you see, this is a part of this Mercury retrograde where the truth of certain things, now Mercury also rules cameras. So Sun 22 in Scorpio, somebody could get murdered because they didn't honor somebody's vulnerability. Okay, think about the dark occult that they try to attack the light or attack what they seem as innocent. And, just think about the fact that when people actually do want to love and to have healthy relationships and so on and so forth, they're not going by the, oh, if you didn't do that, then it wouldn't happen. They're going by like, hey, if we're going to have children, all of these people need to die. Like, our children won't be playing around in the field and be, bothered by some Petering cult. Whoever has to die needs to die. And in the societies that pride themselves on rehabilitating people back to society and so on and so forth, well, the money line needs to be that that society needs to be safe also for the single woman, also for the tourist that doesn't really know what's going on, also in the astral. Um, I'm just watching the cats playing. And one of them just set into the half moon that I dug. It's so pretty. The rain is beginning to fall. And it's just so pretty. So, Mercury retrograde, ruled by Jupiter retrograde, is going to give us some Zeus truths. Now, I'm not, but this is the lightning strike. It's justice. But it's also, it's not just justice, it's justice and it's truth. So, definitely with this Mercury retrograde, Mercury has no filter. Jupiter makes something bigger. The square to Chiron, the wound is being met through a friction, and that's one megalithic friction. And this is where a lot of the things that people thought, and this pertaining, in the background, we kind of have Pluto in Aquarius. It's, there was a reason that there was a rebellion in Ghetto Lodge, right? I mean, the ghetto, like first there was a ghetto for the lodge, and then then they rebuilt. So, but it doesn't necessarily have to be any ghetto. In fact, if we do begin with, okay, rebellion, the foundation of digital ghettos, and those hidden cameras in all kinds of countries, because that's becoming a global issue, and actually honor vulnerability, not just trying to, harm the next person, then, like, if we grow a culture that is actually nourishing of the living, then there will be a culture that's actually nourishing of the living. If we gaslight people about being so acceptive and how people can return to society as criminals and so on, and they can rehabilitate, but actually walking into that society, there would be like hidden cameras and trafficking and mockery rituals and those things, then it's not that approaching crime from a standpoint of rehabilitation is bad. It's just that can't be used as gaslighting by secret societies that operate on treason cults and make money trafficking people and or their organs. Norwegian, hi from Israel. We can't be doing our high five based on that, okay? And this is another thing. Our separate cultures, when they meet, they don't just meet in the encounter of the light, but also particularly under the sky. I remember when I was doing Model UN, and there was no PC in the room. Okay? I think we should all hold a candle for that Greek guy that got Monty Python for the silly walk that the, that the people that guard the places have there. And they were like, no, that's actually like their feelings were actually hurt by that. Whereas in, other cultures like then and its parts, people do make satire of these walks. Like that's the silly walk. So, but one of the things that were really, really prevalent was, you know, I think there was this German guy meeting an Israeli guy, and both talking about genocide. They'll Now YouTube Shorts kind of looks like that right now, and this is another part where it allows us to actually have a conversation. Um, if I think about how Israelis were exposed in the Cyprus case of, raping a British tourist, and they didn't even think that they would be brought to justice. Okay? Or how I saw a short of an Asian girl going to Morocco and people just feeling like it's okay to harass her or even try to create like physical contact with her. Um, and that was kind of like, now we have a short of a lady that comes from Asia, and instead of showing how beautiful Morocco is, um, ran into that experience that really changed her experience of traveling in Morocco, which is otherwise a beautiful country. Now, for those type of secret societies that want to normalize, harassing women, getting away with that, and so on and so forth, that's like, everybody's gonna see that they're Nazi, and everybody's gonna hold them accountable for this Naziness, even if they don't name it like that. This is why Israel had a difficult time with Hezbollah. Because, hey, I mean, if Israeli men just go around raping girls and doing horrible things and then, thinking they can get away with that and the Hezbollah will solve everything, even before 7 October, like even before genocide, even before anything, that's not. I said what I said. Neptune in Aries is colonialism o'clock. Now, if other cultures do that in other countries, this is the time where people begin to share experiences. And that's also, while Mercury is still in Sagittarius, that's also, how should I say that? That's also being addressed. And with Sagittarius, the beauty about it, it's being addressed as how free am I to travel and have a joyous experience in another country, in another culture, or around another religion or worldview. Okay, it's not being addressed from like morality scolding. It's kind of like, hey, have nice time there, and then oh my gosh, they're like hidden cameras. That's really not bringing the water. People like think they're doing mockery rituals. They think that that's cool. That's like, you know, not really a joyous experience. Like people really try to excuse their behavior on how somebody else is looking or where they come from. Okay, remember, for example, how people of color having challenging experience in like Europe or and that's being frowned upon. So this is where and particularly susceptible the type of people that would behave one way with one person but think they can get away with behaving another way with another person just because they're not aware of the social etiquette or okay, and this is where these people get caught red-handed internationally for this type of behavior. Okay, happened to Israel, happened to Israel. And for many people, there are many people in the world that feel like for them to be able to be vulnerable and open-hearted and have beautiful life and be able to, have whether it's a family or happy relation, there really needs to be a global mass death because people just don't honor vulnerability. There's a shit ton of Nazis that really try to attack the light and attack the vulnerable and attack the person that is either neurodivergent or something, and they think that Naziness is okay.